Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're tackling something that confuses pretty much everyone when they start using AI. Why is it brilliant at some things and absolutely terrible at others? And I'm not talking about minor differences. AI will write you a compelling 500-word essay in seconds and then completely fail at counting to 10. Same technology, wildly different results. Once you understand why this happens, you'll know exactly what to use AI for and what to avoid entirely. Let's figure this out. You know what's weird? AI feels inconsistent. Not like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't inconsistent. More like it's a genius at this thing, but completely incompetent at that thing inconsistent. Let me give you an example. You need to write a thoughtful explanation of why small businesses should consider AI. Complex topic, needs to be persuasive but not salesy, has to address concerns while building interest. You give AI that task, and 3 minutes later, you've got something that would have taken you an hour. The logic flows, the examples are relevant, the tone is spot on. Okay, so you think this is powerful. So you try something else. You ask it to generate a list. Give me exactly 10 bullet points, no more, no less. It gives you 12. You try again with emphasis. I need exactly 10 items. Please count them before sending. It gives you 9. Wait, what? The system that just created a sophisticated 500-word piece can't count to 10. That doesn't make sense, unless you understand what's actually happening under the hood. Once you start noticing this, you can't unsee it. Someone asks AI to help with their marketing. They need compelling copy for a product launch. AI delivers multiple headline options, body copy variations, different angles to try. The kind of work that would normally take a copywriter hours, done in minutes, and it's actually good. Then that same person thinks, okay, this is smart. Let me use it for my financial modeling. They ask it to calculate profit margins across different scenarios. AI gives them numbers, confident, specific numbers. All wrong. Or here's another one. AI translates your English website into Spanish beautifully, gets the idioms right, captures the tone. Then you give it a logic puzzle. Something like, if all managers are in meeting A and Sarah is in meeting B, can Sarah be a manager? And it fumbles. The technology that handles sophisticated linguistic work fails at what look like simpler tasks. There's a reason for this. Before we go further, I want to ground this in something we covered way back in video 1, because this one insight explains everything you're about to see. AI doesn't think, it doesn't reason. What it does is complete patterns. And I know we've said this before, but it's really worth sitting with this for a second. When you interact with AI, it feels like it's thinking through your problem. It seems like it's reasoning about the best answer. The responses are coherent, logical, well structured. But that's not what's happening at all. What's happening is statistical pattern matching. Based on billions of examples it's trained on, it's predicting when someone writes something like this, what usually comes next. Word by word, sentence by sentence. There's no reasoning engine running in the background. No logic module. No, let me think of this through process. Just what patterns have I seen before that match the situation? And that completely explains why AI is brilliant at some things and terrible at others. Let me break it down what I mean by pattern completion, because this is where everything clicks. Think about a musician who's learned to play by ear. They haven't studied music theory, they can't read sheet music, but they've listened to thousands of songs in a particular genre. They've internalized the patterns, what chords typically follow each other, how melodies resolve, what rhythms feel right. When they sit down to play, they're not reasoning through music theory. They're following patterns they've absorbed. This chord usually goes to that chord. This rhythm typically leads into that section. AI learned language the same way, except instead of thousands of songs, it processed billions of pages of text. It absorbed statistical patterns of how language works. So when you prompt it, here's what happens. It analyzes what you wrote. It recognizes patterns in your input, the structure, the context, the type of request. Then it generates a response by following the most likely patterns it learned. Based on what I've seen, when someone writes X, Y typically follows. It's pattern matching at massive scale. Not thinking, not reasoning, pattern completion. So, what do all of AI's strengths have in common? They're all about recognizing and reproducing patterns in language. That's it. That's the through line. When you ask AI to write something, you're asking it to apply patterns it learned from millions of writing examples. When you ask it to organize information, you're asking it to spot patterns in how ideas relate to each other. When you want it to brainstorm alternatives, you're asking it to recombine patterns it's seen before. None of those require reasoning, none require calculation, none require accessing verified facts. They're all pattern work, and pattern work is what AI was built to do. Let me break down why each category works so well, because understanding this helps you identify new ways to use these tools. Think about what language actually is. When you write, you're not inventing entirely new structures every time. You're following patterns you've absorbed through years of reading and writing. Professional emails follow certain conventions: the greeting, the context, the ask, the closing. There's a pattern to it. Arguments build in predictable ways. First, you establish the problem, then, you present evidence, then, you conclude. These are patterns. AI trained on billions of examples of human writing. Every email, article, book, conversation it encountered reinforced these patterns, not through explicit rules someone programmed, but through sheer statistical exposure. So when you ask AI to draft an email, it's not figuring out what to say from first principles. It's applying patterns. Professional emails in this context typically follow this tone, follow this structure, include these elements. That's why it works so well for writing tasks. Rewriting content for different audiences, that's recognizing patterns of formal versus casual language. Summarizing documents, that's identifying which information tends to be central versus peripheral. Translation, that's transferring patterns from one language system to another. All pattern transformation. This is AI's native language. Here's something AI does that surprises people. It's remarkably good at organizing messy information. You've got 500 customer feedback comments sitting in a spreadsheet. Some came through email, some through your website forms, some through customer service calls. They're all different lengths, different levels of detail, different ways of expressing things. A human would read through those looking for themes. Okay, this one's about pricing. This one's complaining about the mobile app. This one wants a new feature. After an hour, maybe you've categorized 50 of them. After 3 hours, you're burned out and inconsistent. AI processes 500 in seconds and groups them into themes. It's recognizing patterns in language. These words and phrases cluster together. These complaints share common elements. These requests are variations on the same underlying issue. It's not understanding the problems in a deep sense. It doesn't know why pricing concerns matter to your business strategy, but it's incredibly good at seeing these things are similar to each other and different from those things. Same principle works for routing support tickets, organizing documents, tagging content. Anywhere you need to sort information by similarity, you're playing to AI's core strength. Here's why AI is great at creative generation. Creativity is pattern recombination. Generating variations is fundamentally about recombining patterns in novel ways. AI learned from training data. Here are common approaches to this type of problem. Then it mixes and remixes these patterns to create fresh alternatives. This is why AI excels at divergent thinking, producing many options quickly. It's not creating from true imagination, but it's incredibly effective at generating the raw material humans can then refine and select from. Marketing taglines generate 50 variations on a theme in seconds. From conventional to creative, giving you options to workshop and refine. Product names explore different naming directions: descriptive, abstract, playful, and professional. Design concepts brainstorm alternative approaches and visual directions, uncovering angles you hadn't considered. Content topics discover fresh angles on familiar subjects, identifying gaps in your content strategy. This is pattern recombination at work. Now, here's where things break down. And this is important because these failures aren't minor, they're fundamental. There's a whole category of tasks that look simple on the surface but require something beyond pattern matching. They require actual reasoning, following rules systematically, maintaining logical consistency, calculating exact results. And this is where AI doesn't just perform poorly, it fails in ways that are dangerous if you're not aware of them, because it will still give you answers, confident, well formatted, authoritative sounding answers that are wrong. The problem is these wrong answers don't come with warning labels. There's no uncertainty in the response. No, I'm not sure about this. Just confident nonsense. So you need to know what types of tasks trigger these failures. Let me walk you through the main categories. Math requires exact calculation, but AI treats 2 plus 2 as a language pattern, not arithmetic. It's seen 2 plus 2 equals 4 thousands of times in training data, so it completes that pattern correctly. This works for common calculations it has memorized. But ask it to multiply large numbers like 487 times 923 and watch it fail. It hasn't memorized the specific calculation, so it guesses based on what similar looking problems produced. It's doing language patterns, not actual mathematical computation. The result? Confident, but completely wrong answers to calculation problems. Here's the thing. AI can explain mathematical concepts beautifully. It can teach you how multiplication works, but it cannot reliably perform calculations that weren't in its training data. It's doing language patterns, not actual calculation. Logic requires following rules systematically. True logical reasoning means applying rules consistently across novel situations. AI learned language patterns, not logical rules. It can't reliably work through if this then that chains because it's completing patterns, not executing logical operations. Here's what happens. Common patterns work. AI might complete if all A are B and B are C, then all A are C correctly, because it's seen this exact logical structure many times before in training data. But novel patterns fail. Change the variables or structure slightly, present an unfamiliar logical scenario, and AI fails because it's not actually reasoning through the logic. It's pattern matching. This is the difference between mimicking reasoning through memorized patterns versus actually reasoning. AI does the former, not the latter. Here's where that context window limitation from video 2 becomes really relevant. Imagine you're working through a complex financial analysis. Step 1, you calculate revenue by channel. Step 2, you subtract costs for each channel. Step 3, you use those margins to decide where to allocate next quarter's budget. Step 4, you factor in seasonal trends based on what you found in Step 1. Notice how Step 4 depended on information from Step 1 and how you need to carry results forward from each step to inform the next. Humans handle this naturally. We have working memory. We can hold, okay, I'm currently on step 3, and I need to remember that channel A has a 40% margin from step 1 while we work through the current calculation. AI doesn't really have that. It processes each step somewhat independently. By the time it gets to step 4, depending on how long and complex the previous steps were, it might have lost track of what it established in step 1. This is why you see AI start strong on multi-step problems and then drift off course halfway through. It's not maintaining awareness of the evolving state across the whole picture. This brings us back to hallucinations from video 3, and this is where things get really problematic for certain types of tasks. When you ask AI for a specific piece of information, a statistic, a date, a number, you're essentially saying, recall this exact fact. But AI doesn't have a database of facts it's looking up. It has patterns. So what does it do? It generates what that type of fact typically looks like. You ask about population density for a specific city. AI knows what demographic statistics look like. Their percentages or specific numbers, usually formatted a certain way, often cited from census sources. So it generates text that matches that pattern. The population of Eau Claire County includes 28.4% households with children under 18. Sounds authoritative. It's formatted correctly. It has the specificity you expect from real data. But unless that exact statistic appears frequently in AI's training data, there's a good chance it's wrong. It might be close. It might be completely fabricated. You have no way to know without checking. This is why treating AI as a fact database is dangerous. It's not retrieving information, it's generating plausible sounding information. Big difference. So, how do you know whether AI is going to help or hurt for any given task? Here's the mental model I use. And once you internalize this, it becomes second nature. Start by asking yourself, what type of work is this really? Strip away the specific task and think about the underlying operation you need performed. Are you transforming language, organizing information, spotting patterns, generating variations? If the core operation is about working with pattern languages, you're in good territory. AI will probably handle it well. But if the core operation requires exact calculation, math, logic, precise recall of specific facts, stop. Don't use AI for this, or at a minimum, understand you'll need to verify everything it produces. And if you need verifiable facts as part of the work, treat those sections differently than the language work. Get the facts from reliable sources, then let AI help you work with that information. It sounds simple, but this mental model will save you hours of frustration and prevent costly mistakes. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Let me show you how this plays out with two tasks from the same business. You need to follow up with a customer who had a service issue. You want to acknowledge their frustration, explain what you're doing to fix it, and rebuild trust. Classic customer service communication. AI handles this beautifully. It knows the patterns of good service recovery emails. Start with acknowledgement, take responsibility, explain the situation, end with reassurance. It'll generate something that sounds human, feels appropriate, and does the job. You might tweak a line or two, but it's 90% there. Now, same business, different task. You need to calculate accurate invoice totals, multiple line items, different tax rates depending on location, maybe a discount that applies to some items but not others. Do not use AI for this. It will give you numbers that look plausible. They'll be formatted correctly, presented confidently, and they'll be wrong. Maybe by a little, maybe by a lot. You won't know without checking. This is exactly what spreadsheets are designed for. Formulas that calculate the same way every time. No pattern matching, just arithmetic. Same business, same day, two different tasks. One is perfect for AI. The other is completely inappropriate. Knowing which is which saves you from costly mistakes. Research work is interesting because it involves multiple types of tasks mixed together. Some are perfect for AI, others aren't. Say you're doing market research. You've collected 50 customer interviews. Each one is 30 minutes of transcribed conversation. You need to identify the main themes people care about. This is pattern recognition at scale. What topics keep coming up? What language do people use when they talk about specific problems? What concerns cluster together? AI is excellent at this. It processes all 50 transcripts, identifies recurring themes, groups similar comments, surfaces the patterns. Work that would take a human researcher days of careful analysis happens in minutes. But then, same research project, you need to run statistical tests on your survey data. You want to know if the difference between two groups is statistically significant or just random noise. Don't use AI for this. Statistical significance requires exact mathematical calculation following specific formulas. This is what R or Python or SPSS are designed for. Actual computation, not pattern approximation. So even with a single research project, you're using different tools for different parts. AI for processing language and finding patterns, statistical software for mathematical analysis. Both are research tasks, but they require fundamentally different capabilities. Here's what effective AI use actually looks like. And it's not use AI for everything or use AI for nothing. It's strategic combination. Most meaningful work involves multiple types of tasks, and the best approach is matching each task type to the right tool. Let's say you're preparing a business report. There's data analysis involved. You need to crunch numbers, calculate trends, run comparisons. That's spreadsheet territory. Excel or Google Sheets does exact calculations reliably. Use that. Then you've got interpretation and explanation. What do these numbers mean? What story are they telling? That's pattern work. Taking data and transforming it into narrative. AI handles this beautifully. It can draft the explanation, adjust the language for your audience, structure the insights clearly. But then maybe you're citing industry statistics to prove context. Don't ask AI to recall those. Look them up in reliable sources. Then feed those verified facts to AI and let it help you weave them into your narrative. Finally, you need to verify any technical claims or specific numbers. Search engines, industry databases, primary sources use tools designed for factual verification. This hybrid approach, using the right tool for each type of work, is how you get both speed and accuracy. Okay, so if there's one thing to take away from this entire video, it's this. AI is exceptional at pattern work, and it's problematic for precision work. That's not a bug. That's not something that'll be fixed in the next version. That's the fundamental nature of this technology. What does this mean practically? First, you'll stop banging your head against the wall when AI fails at tasks it was never designed to handle. The math failures, the logic problems, the fact fabrication, all of that makes sense now. You're not doing something wrong. The tool just isn't built for that work. Second, you'll start getting dramatically better results because you'll use AI for tasks where it genuinely excels. All that pattern-based work, language transformation, organization, creative generation, you'll lean into those use cases. And third, you'll naturally develop better judgment about tool selection. You won't default to AI for everything. You'll think, what type of work is this really? And choose accordingly. That's the shift that happens when you truly understand strengths and weaknesses. You stop fighting the tool and start working with it strategically. This is a part of a series making AI concepts actually make sense. We're not just teaching isolated facts. We're building a genuine understanding that helps you make better decisions. Video 1 covered pattern completion. Video 2 explained context windows. Video 3 tackled hallucinations. And today, Video 4 showed you strengths and weaknesses. We're building a complete mental model of how AI works with clear, practical explanations. If you found this helpful, subscribe. More fundamental AI concepts coming every week. And if you need help identifying which tasks AI can transform in your business, applying those principles to your specific workflows and challenges, let's talk. Reach out to us in the link below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.